Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Conference Finals get going tonight. Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights this evening. Tomorrow, the Habs will try to continue their run in the playoffs, going into Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. We'll focus in on Game 1 tonight, as well as the Kelly McCrimmon press conference yesterday with a very carefully read, worded statement from the team, both on what happened after Game 6 in the second round, which resulted in the $100,000 fine and the removal of a second-round draft pick for the Vegas Golden Knights, in addition to their statement on the current situation with their former head coach, Bruce Cassidy. We will have Ken Boehlke from Sin Bin Vegas join us a little bit later on to talk about that. We'll also get Brandon Rewucki's thoughts on the upcoming Final Four in the National Hockey League. Brandon's going to join us. But the highlight of today's show is going to be NHL Hall of Fame referee Bill McCreary joining the program. We got a chance to chat with him about his new book. And listen, this is a conversation that could go for 12 hours with a guy that has been around and seen as much as Bill McCreary, but an incredible career and a guy that officiated some of the most famous games in NHL history and certainly hundreds of games amongst the greatest in hockey history. So really looking to having that for you coming up. A little bit later on, we're going to check in with our friends at Sport Manitoba, and we will unsuspend Pat Gregoire. We'll get Patty back in, and we'll talk a little golf before tonight. We will, again, be having, it's Wednesday, so Rima and I will be doing our horse race picks. And at the end of the program, if you have entered to join us for the prime rib buffet and a night of racing at Assiniboia Downs on June 3rd, we will pick 10 more names from everyone that has entered. The people that are selected will get a horse in the race, and we will do our horse race. Cowboy was the winner last week. He was our first. He and a guest will be joining us. We'll have today's winner, and we're going to do it again next Wednesday. So if you haven't already, probably too late to get in for today, but you still do have another chance next week. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Put in your information, and maybe, just maybe, you will be a jockey in the WST horse race with the Assiniboia Downs a little bit later on. We've got lots to get to today, so we'll get right to it. Brandon Rewucki coming up in just a few minutes. Do want to thank the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the Tri-Hospital Lottery. Get those tickets at trihospitaldream.com. Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug. Of course, our friends at Travel Manitoba. Got a great segment with them tomorrow on the program. Don't miss that. The Gold Eyes. We'll get to the home opener in just a minute. Assiniboia Downs, Rolly's Transfer. Of course, Dr. Terry and the wonderful people out at St. Patel Dental Center. And we will get to a why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGilvery. Michael Remis, what's going on?
Hey, I'm feeling good. The rain or the weather, it's nice outside finally. Maybe I can put my toque away. We'll see, but nice to be here. Getting ready for the conference final tonight. Vegas, Colorado, and we'll get the East going tomorrow. So happy to be here, Huss.
Yeah, Gold Eyes, we missed you last night. We had the full crew just about out at the game last night. Connor was scarfing down his chicken fingers. Got a chance to see Liz at the game as well. And I got taken in. I got to tell you, I mean, coming out of the long weekend, I think like many of you, I was in a bit of a curmudgeonly mood yesterday just talking about the weather. I was kind of choked that the Gold Eyes had done such an amazing job of filling the park for the home opener. We're going to have to deal with an incredibly unseasonably brutal day. It wasn't as bad as I had sort of expected. And luckily it wasn't that windy. There wasn't any rain. And it ended up being, all things considered, a pretty nice night. considering what we dealt with over the course of the weekend. I mean, the game on the field did not go the Goldeyes' way. I think the final was 14-2. He got lit up kind of in the middle innings pitching-wise and just did not, so far this season, haven't really established the rhythm of the offense right now. But again, a long, long season. What was great to see, Remo, was so many fans out. I was blown away because, I mean, I knew that they'd done a great job selling tickets. I was thinking that maybe the weather would keep some people away. It certainly didn't seem that way. Those 5,000 jerseys went quickly and were all across the ballpark, and I think we'll see them throughout the year this year. And, man, it was just good to be back at Blue Cross Park, seeing the Goldeyes do their thing again. And, again, we got 49 more opportunities to do it, including tonight when they're back at it for game number 2 on a nicer day as we continue to get a little warmer into what looks like a glorious week next week awaiting us.
Yeah, here's the picture for those watching on YouTube. Looks like a pretty packed house in time for the anthem. A lot of people wearing red, those jerseys that they gave away. And, we had talked about changes to the ballpark this year, different lighting, updates to Craft Beer Corner. But there's some new concessions out there as well. Can you give us the scouting report on the ballpark?
Okay, let's get right to it. As I had broken, I am the concession breaking news guy, Big J of concessions, and we did tell you that there was going to be a new foot-long hot dog added to the game. Shout out to Andrew Collier. I think was the brains behind that push. You can get a foot-long hot dog at Goldie's Grill. If you go down the first baseline, deep into right field, the Goldie Dogs booth has the foot-long dog on the toasted bun with real bacon, nacho cheese, fried onions. That I've already claimed that is going to be on number 1 on the hit list for the next game that I go to. But there is a new concession stand that I think was really popular and is going to be great all year long. That's the picture that you just had, Remo. And it's called the Soul Bistro. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think this is the folks that are run the Susol, which I think is sort of like a fancier restaurant that's quite popular. But they are rocking Korean fried chicken, as well as the pork belly and steak rice bowls. So that is definitely on the list. A lot of your favorites are back. The pizza, the pierogi stand, the barbecue, obviously the donuts, taco time back, and then, of course, the Bodego's guys that have those great noodle bowls down in the corner. So I think they've actually taken it up a level this year, if it's possible, Remo. And I can tell you, Craft Beer Corner was packed last night. There were lots of beer bats, and the only thing missing was a little more sunshine, a few more degrees, and a few more hits for the fish. But nevertheless, a great way and a fun night to start off the 2026 baseball season in the Peg.
Awesome. Looking forward to this week's homestand and looking forward to getting out to the ballpark as well. Those Sunday afternoon games, certainly a highlight for me taking the family out, but also, as you mentioned, the evening, and we'll be having our own Goldeyes game. Mark it on our calendar, June 30. Save the date, everyone. We got to save the date.
I will make a personal guarantee. The weather will be better on Tuesday, June 30th, or at least warmer than it was yesterday. But as I said, it wasn't too bad. You mentioned toques. I actually did bring a toque, Reem. I threw a jacket on that I hadn't worn in a while. I had a couple of those little orange gloves we got at the Grey Cup in that media pack. Yeah. Those have come in quite handy. They were there just in case. I had a toque, did not end up wearing it, and stuck around for most of the game. But man, it was great to see so many people. Lots of WSTers there that came up and said hi. Jeff Johnson, I saw Running Man running around as usual. Lots of people said hi. So as I said, we're just getting ready. Mark that date down, June 30th. We'll probably start with tickets on sale to confirm your spot next week or so. And that's going to be fun because that's going right into, it'll be a great day to maybe have a couple extra little brown jugs at the ballpark because, of course, the next day is Canada Day. And I have a feeling a lot of people will be looking at maybe a little extended long weekend by taking Thursday and Friday off. So that is the plan for us. But it's back to work tonight in the National Hockey League, Remo. We are ready to go with Colorado Vegas. But Vegas was really making news yesterday with Kelly McCrimmon's press conference. And then, of course, the NHL Coaches Association putting out a statement later on in the day, sort of grieving, if you will, what the Vegas Golden Knights are up to. I'll read this for you. The NHL Coaches Association has been closely monitoring the situation involving Bruce Cassidy. While we respect the league's rules and processes, it is our position that coaches who remain under contract but are no longer working for their club should not be prevented from pursuing other employment opportunities. It would be unprecedented at the head coaching level should multiple teams be denied permission to speak with Coach Cassidy. The situation is still unfolding, but our priority is to protect the interests of our members in this type of circumstance. No surprise that the Coaches Association has issues with this. I think there's a lot of other teams in the league, including the ones that want to interview Bruce Cassidy, has issues with this. And frankly, Remis, it seems like Gary Bettman and Bill Daly have a bunch of things on their desk to take care of, and most of them involve the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, they did get that suspension, the $100,000 fine to Tortorella, docking a second-round pick for, winning the series and then declining to speak to the media after to prove a point, whatever it was they were making. They were upset about the McNabb suspension, but instead of talking about Mitch Marner leading the playoffs in scoring, Jack Eichel's performance, we're here talking about off-ice stuff, and I think even the fans getting a little irritated with their own team, saying, "Hey, show some respect to Bruce Cassidy, who led this franchise to their first Stanley Cup victory." The Vegas had to ask permission for Philadelphia to speak to John Tortorella before they hired him. Why is this such an issue for them? And for them to go out and say, "Oh, we're focused on the playoffs," while they had 6 days in between, their last game and the next game, it could have been plenty of time.
Hey, they're focused on Colorado, Remis. What, you think that's enough time to say, take a 15-second call?
Whatever happened to honesty? Just say, we're scared. We don't want him to be in the division. I think people would buy that more than the BS they're peddling. But Ken Boehlke covers the Vegas Golden Knights. He's joining us later on the show. Very interested to hear his take. But also I think the fan reaction, not just from fans outside Vegas who everyone seems to hate the Golden Knights, but I think it's kind of pissing off their own fans, just how you would treat a former Stanley Cup champion head coach.
Yeah, no doubt. Kelly McCrimmon, as I mentioned, said teams have asked for permission to speak with Bruce, but their focus has been on the playoffs. He said he spoke to Bruce and that he understands. Down goes Brown, who's been on the show before from The Athletic. In fairness, GMs have lots of opportunities for roster moves in the playoffs. So finding 15 seconds to do the right thing like everyone else is going to be next to impossible.
Yeah.
Very tongue-in-cheek there. But listen, the one thing the Vegas Golden Knights have not done and not cared to do really at any point throughout their tenure as an NHL franchise is make friends. And they're certainly not doing that. Are they pissing people off? Absolutely. Are they giving some headaches for the National Hockey League? Absolutely. But they now get an opportunity to go out and play. And big news tonight, Remo, no Cale Makar for Game 1 between Vegas and Colorado in the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, Cale Makar looked pretty banged up near the end of the last series. And that's a huge, huge loss for them. But it's not the only loss in the series. Mark Stone out for Game 1 as well. And he's missed a couple games there for Vegas. So I think that's a big blow for Colorado, but Vegas also dealing with their own injuries. I think they're still going to be like, they missed him a bunch during the year. He seems to always miss a couple games here and there. And I think their defense is pretty solid with Taves. Malinsky moves up to the top line. Brett Kulak, who they acquired midseason from Pittsburgh, on the second pair with Josh Manson. And Brent Burns, who's like the Ray Bork of this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's get Burnsy a cup, over 1,500 games played. Could he get to the cup final here? So I think they'll be okay, but certainly a big loss.
Yeah, where are we at? We're going to have to update the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll on guys without rings that are still in the mix. Burns, pretty much has to be at the top of that list. Considering how long that he's played. And, it's funny. He has the potential, if he comes back next year, to become the NHL Ironman. And it's not like he's just played his whole career. Like, that streak starts 600 or 700 games into his NHL career, and he could still have the longest consecutive matchup. But Burns is obviously going to be a big story as we get into the playoffs, and his current team and his former team could be going head-to-head in the finals. But we're going to bring Brandon on in just a minute and talk to him about about his thoughts. I have to say one thing on the basketball last night, just quickly. Knicks, for those of you that ever make a wager or drop on something on the point spread, the most unlikely cover I think I've ever seen in my life. The Knicks were down 22 points, I believe, in the fourth quarter. And the Cavs had a win probability of over 99% up until the final couple minutes. They end up not only winning the game, but they got it to overtime and then blew them out. If you had Knicks minus 6.5, shout out to you for riding with me yesterday. You just won the most unlikely bet in a long, long time. A 44-11 run to end the game in overtime for New York, and they come back from what looked like an embarrassing faceplant in the first game of their series to win the first one, and I'm not sure whether Cleveland comes back. Tonight, after the all-time playoff performance by Victor Wembanyama in game number 1, it is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the OKC Thunder hosting the Spurs tonight in game 2. A desperate OKC team looks to even the series up before the series shifts to San Antonio for game number 3. We are going to talk some playoffs, though, with Brandon Rewucki coming up before Bill McCreary joins us. Do want to remind you all, folks, that the Tri-Hospital Lottery is on, and Friday is the deadline to get your tickets for the summer bonus. There'll be 11 winners of prizes worth over $95,000, and one winner is going to have a pretty nice choice. Do you want a 26 Land Rover Discovery Sport Landmark? A 2026 Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 4MATIC SUV valued at over $75,000. How about a $50,000 Fair Connect travel voucher and $20,000 cash, or $62,500 cash? There'll also be 10 winners of a $2,000 shopping spree at St. Vital, Polo Park, or the Outlet Collection, or $1,500 cash. Now, if you get your tickets by Friday, you'll be in for the summer bonus. You'll be in for the early bird, which is another 26 winners of prizes worth over $257,000. And, of course, the grand prize, one of 6 dream home packages worth $1.7 million, or you say, show me the money, $1.35 million Canadian tax-free. It's all in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Children's Hospital. So every dollar you goes to support some very, very important hospitals in our province, the 3 big ones. And you can be a millionaire at the same time. Get your tickets today. TryHospitalDream.com. That's TryHospitalDream.com. You can also pick them up at your local local Red River Co-op locations or London Drugs. Got to shout out our friends at Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. We had no Canada game today. Take a look at the lines tomorrow for Canada as we continue to Clean Line lines, even though we're off a jet season right now. It's always Clean Line season, though, as they have Manitobans and Winnipeggers backs 24/7, 365 as Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. You can schedule an appointment by going online to cleanline.ca, but your appointment might be unscheduled, and that's where the 24/7 service comes in. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001. That's the number for Clean Line. They've got your back 24/7. And, of course, cleanline.com for more information on the residential and commercial plumbing experts with heating and electrical services at cleanline.ca. Our friends at Manitoba Battery are ready to move on from the disappointment of May long weekend with the terrible weather and get on with the summer. And that means boats in the water. That means RVs on the road, ATVs and bikes on the dirt bike, everything that makes Manitoba summer so much fun. And with all those toys you're picking up and getting ready to use, you got to make sure you're powered up. Manitoba Battery is the spot to make that all happen. Now, batteries for literally everything at the best prices in town. You shop local. You drive right past the big box stores and you get the best price in town and you get the best in customer service from Manitoba Battery. And as you can see on the website right now, season inventory blowout right now for deep cycle batteries. Now, there are limited quantities, but right now the FVP DC24 and the FVP DC27 are both only $79.99 with core exchange. Now, these prices valid until May 31st or while supplies last. So get ready for summer. Take advantage of the season inventory blowout and do it today. Manitoba Battery's got 2 locations to serve you. The original on Logan Avenue, the new location on the south side on Dovercourt Drive. And of course, no one's got better customer service. Busy, can't make it down. Manitoba Battery can deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter. Give them a call or order online today if you can't make it down in person at manitobabattery.com. And just before we bring in Brandon, folks, if you have a move, make sure to holler at our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years. Head on over to Rollies.com, and if you do have a move coming up, hit on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around real quick, get you locked in with a great quote for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more or request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. All right, let's bring in Brandon Rewucki, host of Skates and Plates, as we get ready to drop the puck. Rew, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. How are things over there?
Well, I mean, listen, at least the sun is out right now. We got through the Goldeye home opener, and it wasn't as bad as expected. I was laughing thinking about you on the weekend. The weather was horrible. You were taking a bunch of young kids out to the lake. How did that all go? How is the trials and tribulations of a terrible May-long weekend with 2 little ones? Did you survive?
I think so. I can't totally confirm yes or no, but I think so. I mean, honestly, I was a little more rattled. I had a golf round at Falcon planned for Saturday and Sunday morning. Saturday canceled. Sunday, we were able to get it up to, I think, +3. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, but you know what it was? It was 4 hours out in nature. It's nice and quiet for the most part. So, less than ideal. But we made it through. S'mores were nice. Cracked up the fire outside. Huddled by it for necessity.
Yeah,
as opposed
very
to
close,
comfort.
very close to it at all times.
But other than that, all good.
Hey, listen, just before we get to the pucks, I do want to mention that this segment's brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers. It's time to check out the Toyota Tacoma during Red Tag Days. Its standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca, your local Prairie Toyota dealer, during Red Tag Days from March through May. Hey, before we talk about this game tonight, what did you think of Kelly McCrimmon's presser yesterday, going through just how busy they are, just can't quite get to giving Bruce Cassidy the green light to talk to a couple of other teams in particular, and then falling on their sword and owning what they did after Game 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's you only had 6 days in between games, so I mean, it's what did you expect that they could pick up a phone and say yes or no? I don't know, man. I'm not. There's a part of me that would be like, why don't the 31 other GMs in the NHL just be like, screw this, like put some kind of embargo on this, right? Like every other team seems to find a way to allow fired or relieved head coaches, whatever the terminology is, to interview with other teams. But Vegas is the one that just, no, this is a step too far.
They just got it from Philly to hire Torts.
Yeah, and then on top of it, you have and you know what? To a degree, I can almost understand it in terms of it being like a competitive advantage against at Edmonton. But the press conference thing is so beyond ridiculous.
Oh,
like, you know, like we're not children trying to, like, these are legitimate adults well onto the back nine of their lives that are just acting so unprofessionally after you win a series. It's not even like you lost and you're all pissed and you don't want to talk to anybody. Like they won and they're still doing this whole shenanigans thing. I'm kind of out on Vegas. You know, I would stick up for them. I would stick up for the cutthroat, and you know, they do whatever it takes to win and all this stuff. But now it's, I don't know, man. It's just like have just a sliver of class when it comes to how you present yourself as an organization. And these last couple of weeks, I'm out. I'm officially out. Kraken, I'm okay, but Vegas, no, I'm not. I don't want to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, well, we're gonna see what the feeling around Vegas is as we get into this series. You give them much hope against the Avs? I'm pretty big loss on the blue line without Cale Makar, but at the same time, to me, around playoff time, Mark Stone, I mean, maybe after Jack Eichel, and Mitch Marner certainly has put himself in that conversation, but of the most important leaders, drivers of the Golden Knights, and that's a big, big loss on the Vegas side as well for Game 1 tonight.
Yeah, you do have noted playoff performer Mitch Marner to carry the load for Vegas at least.
He's killing it.
I mean, yeah, he's been amazing. I mean, we saw the slight glimpse of a Makarless Avalanche in the third period against Minnesota. Didn't seem to slow them down too much, mounting that furious comeback there. I do think Colorado still gets it done. But I mean, it does just create a little bit of doubt. I think, surprisingly, the one area, and I know he's performed pretty well through 2 rounds, but I like Colorado's goaltending up against Vegas here. You know, Carter Hart had a couple of rough games against the Ducks. I just wonder, with the level of talent that they have out there in Colorado, if they're going to be able to take advantage of Vegas in that way. I just don't know if Vegas has the horses outside of Eichel and Marner right now. Like, Hertl just looks like a shell of himself. I know he finally got on the score sheet late in the series in round 2, but there's just nowhere near the level of impact that they would have hoped for from him. And I don't know. He's been a great story. I just don't know how long you can rely on Brett Howden to basically carry your offense for you, right? Like, I just don't know if they have what it takes to combat what Colorado's had, where they're just getting contributions from literally every single spot in their lineup right now. Backup goalie, bottom 6. You saw what happened with the defense when Makar went down. I thought Brent Burns looked great too. Like, to me, Colorado's the runaway train right now, and I think there's only one team left in the Final Four that can slow them down, and I don't think it's Vegas.
You know, I mean, you mentioned Brett Howden, and then how much longer can they rely on Brett Howden to do it all? Similarly, how much longer can the Montreal Canadiens rely on Alex Newhook to win deciding Game 7s on the road that they have no business winning? The Habs playoff voodoo is at an apex right now, and we thought we'd seen it all in Game 7 against Tampa, and then Monday night happened at the expense of the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, is Newhook Martin Jelena 2.0? You get him to a Game 7, and you know he's going to find a way to get it done. I thought they played a lot better in this Game 7 than the previous one, obviously, against Tampa Bay. It was just, it seemed to me they kind of did what Minnesota did, where it's like, let's just sit back and absorb the pressure here. Like, yeah, maybe they'll learn the lesson now moving forward, but like you cannot, against these teams that are left, just park the bus and assume that Obish and company are going to hold the fort here. And you do that against Carolina, Huss, thoughts might be 60-10 for each game of the series, right? So Carolina is going to force them to, I think, be a lot more aggressive. But I mean, I know Habs fans don't love hearing this, but like they're living a semi-charmed life right now. Like Tampa Bay should have taken care of business against them the previous round in Game 7. And I think Buffalo was the better team. And you just get a bit of a flutterer, knuckle puck, whatever it was, that takes them down in Game 7 there. It's pretty wild, too, that like 5-on-5, the big dogs for Montreal, basically nothing. Which can either mean you have no hope against Carolina, or what if they do get going 5-on-5, and then like could we potentially be unstoppable there? I guess it depends whether you're from Quebec or if you're one of the other 30+ million Canadians. So I personally think the run ends here, and I think Carolina is the ultimate team that you don't want to give 2.5 weeks off of rest and have them ready to go. But I mean, even if it is a short series against Carolina here, it's yet another overwhelming success for Montreal, where they've set themselves up now to, I think, be the perennial powerhouse in the Atlantic Division, right? Like they make a couple, and they don't need massive moves, but a tweak here or there, and they're going to be in this for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Interested in the chat's thoughts on this. I'll hit it to them, and then I'll hit it to you. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray? Brandon, who of the two underdogs is more likely to advance to the finals? The Vegas Golden Knights or the Montreal Canadiens on the ride that they're on?
I guess Montreal, but I know it's boring, but I just, to me, these two teams are just above the rest right now.
Does it concern you? Like, the Canes did not beat the Habs this year. They were 0-3.
Not overly. I don't know when all of those games were. I'm going to assume Dobish wasn't even in net for the majority of those two. I just think ultimately with Carolina, they figured this out right now. They have arguably the best line of the playoffs, which is shocking to say considering some of the performances we've seen elsewhere. But nobody's been even close to slowing down Stankoven, Hall, and Blake. And so, if the Aho trio gets it going, all of a sudden Carolina becomes a much, much more formidable foe. I just don't think like Carolina's PK is, to me, the best in hockey. And Montreal has just feasted with the man advantage. I don't think those same opportunities are going to present themselves against the Hurricanes. I think Hudson will hold up okay. I just wonder about the rest of the blue line there. And I just think with the Hurricanes' suffocating style of play that Montreal isn't going to be able to cope with this. I do think the longer the series goes, the more it favors Montreal. But ultimately, I do think it's going to be probably a 5-game matchup between these two teams, and Carolina moves on. I just think ultimately, though, the lack of speed for Vegas gets exposed in a big way against Colorado. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up when the Avs turn it into hyperdrive. And so even without Cale Makar, I don't know, man. I don't think we see a long conference final matchups in either one of these. Stanley Cup final might be a different story, but I think think we get a bit of an anticlimactic run to the final after a great round 2.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you on Colorado. I think they're the better team, even without Makar, and the Stone injury is impactful for Vegas. So, I mean, I like them. I would normally say, oh, this is Carolina. But again, we've seen this before of insane things happening with the Habs. It's happened again, and here they are in the conference finals again. And you know, you said that you kind of like Montreal's chances if the series goes long. I'm sort of with you for all those reasons we just mentioned. But it is sort of funny. They're the team that's gone the distance in the first 2 series, and you wonder what they have left. While Carolina has been chilling for 2 weeks, basically waiting for this game tomorrow. But I'll tell you what, I think game 1 will tell us everything we need to know. I think there is a chance that maybe you get Carolina a little sluggish. They look like a team that hasn't played in 12 days. If Montreal can win that first game on the road, I think it's series on.
Yeah.
If Carolina goes in and does what they've done to the last 2 teams and just mops them at home, I think it's just a matter of how many games can Montreal survive against Carolina.
Yeah. You know, I had the same thought process. Game 1, Flyers Hurricanes, Huss, and after what was it, like a 19-3 shot disparity after the first period, I was like, oh, I guess there is no rest with these guys. I think they play a rust-free game. Like, you know, if it was Colorado with 2 weeks off, it might be like, well, you know what, like maybe it takes them 2 periods to kind of get their hands back, but like Carolina, they're fine with just forechecking you into the dust, and then look, we're not going to try to go 3 passes, cross ice, backdoor tap in. We're more than happy throwing it up to the point. Let's get a couple greasy ones, 5 rebounds, outwork you, rinse, repeat. I think the rest that they have benefits them more than anybody else out there because they can go balls to the wall here every single shift. And I just don't know if Montreal's going to have much of an answer. I think ultimately though, it's the special teams that does Montreal in here, where I just don't think they're going to feast the same way they did in their first 2 seasons.
Hey, Brandon, quick one before we go. I'm just seeing that Craig Button has a new edition of his Craig's List. And Vigo Bjork.
Your boy.
People are on to the scent and watching what he's doing in the World Championships. He has moved up on Craig's List to 4th. Ahead of Caleb Malhotra. Now, the Malhotra was a big riser as well, but most lists we've seen right now have Malhotra as the clear-cut number 1 center, one that'll probably go in the top 4. Interesting that Craig now has Bjork in that spot, and I think we know he's small. The more people watch him play, especially at the World Championships, big-time responsibilities for the Swedish team against men and showing what he's able to do. A lot of those concerns about the size seem to be getting thrown by the wayside. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with what we've seen a couple small players like a Zach Benson do in the playoffs so far this year. But the more I hear everyone talking about this guy, the less I think that he might even be on the board available at 8 when the Jets pick.
That's the funny one. This debate is pointless, Huss, because he's gone at 6. No, but I mean, he had that eye-opening performance against Canada. Like he went toe-to-toe with Ryan O'Reilly in the dot, like one of the premier face-off guys in the NHL. And this little kid's just like, yeah, no big deal, right? Like, and then you want to compete, yeah, I'm right there with you. He's tailor-made. Speaking of Carolina, tailor-made to be a Hurricane centerman, but that's not going to be an option for them. I mean, it's intriguing. Like you look at, it seems I know Craig Button has his order a little bit differently, but you get the sense in some order in the top 4, it's going to be McKenna Stenberg, Chase Reed, and Caleb Malhotra. I would still be pretty confident saying that. And then you look at the Rangers, the Flames, and the Kraken ahead of Winnipeg. I cannot see Seattle taking another centerman. They've done it for, I think, 4 years, maybe? I think 4 years in a row they've taken center wing hybrid type guys. Like you would think at some point you need to diversify your prospect pool a little bit. So that then leaves Calgary and the Rangers. Calgary needs a little bit of everything. You could argue the Rangers need a little bit of everything too. So I look at if he does get past those 2 teams and it comes to Seattle at 7, I mean, in an ideal world, you have your choice of Bjork, Smits, maybe Ty Lawrence as well. You wonder about Keaton Vierhoff. Like, does he potentially fall with Carson Carrolls and Daxton Rudolph seemingly going higher and higher right now too? Like, it'll be pretty intriguing, Huss. I do think Bjork will still be available for Winnipeg at number 8. I don't know. I don't really have a good read about what the Jets want to do. I think if push came to shove and there was a big 6'3" defenseman they feel like can play all situations, they would go the safe, quote unquote, safe route as opposed to taking a Vigo Bjork. But there's going to be options
for what it's worth. Craig's got McKenna 1, Stenberg 2, Carson Carrolls 3.
Oh wow.
Vigo Bjork 4, Chase Reed 5, Malholtra now at 6, Daxton Rudolph 7. If it played out like that, you have got either Tynan Lawrence, Albert Smits, or Keaton Vierhoff all available right now. So, I mean, there is going to be some talent on the board, but a lot of people have their eyes on a particular player or two, and Bjork and Carrolls very likely could potentially, if Craig's right, they could go in the top 4, or at least that's the way he would pick them. Brandon, great stuff as always, man. Let's do this again soon. Appreciate it. Enjoy the games tonight.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk next week.
Good stuff. Right on. All right, there's Brandon Rewucki. I'm seeing news today that our friends at Princess Auto Stadium planning another big Canada Day bash this year for the city and province. We'll fill you in on details on that. Before that, June 11th, Blue Bomber home opener at Princess Auto Stadium. And of course, right now, as we finally get out of this terrible spring, it is a great time to get to Princess Auto, where you will find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you over at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon as well. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Terminator and our friends at Chuds are all systems go now as it looks to warm up and really get into the best time of the year. Get over to Chuds Power Sports, Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years for the best in new and used boats, RVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes, ATVs, golf carts, and more. Man, some of the golf carts they've got there are amazing. As they say, Manitoba built our way. Low boats, great financing as well on all of their options, and you can also get great deals on clearance gear and accessories at the True North Parts internet site. Go to chudspowersports.com for more information on all their seasonal specials, everything new that's in. And then top right corner, if you click on e-commerce store, it'll take you over there to True North Parts for some great deals on that clearance gear and accessories. Make the most of your summer with the best in the game. Chuds Power Sports, corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. And again, get ready for a trip out to Chuds and shop online today at chudspowersports.com. Lots of smiles last night at the Gold Eyes game for the return of baseball season. And speaking of smiles, if you need to get your smile worked on, pop on down and see all the smiling faces at St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff would be more than happy to welcome you and your family into the fold. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans for years, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and clean and a convenient free parking right behind the building. They do it all for clients from 6 months to 99 plus, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. There's nothing in the dental game that they can't handle. StVitalDental.ca is the website. Pop on there, make an appointment, tell Dr. Terry and the gang over there that the boys at WST sent you. And just before we bring in Hall of Famer Bill McCreary, we're back at it tonight. Vegas and Colorado. Best place to watch that game is your local Boston Pizza. We got pizza flights back, wing flights back, the new MVP platter on the BP playoff menu. the big game on the big screen with big sound and more. There's no better place to do it than your local Boston Pizza. And if you are staying at home tonight, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Got big World Cup plans with Boston Pizza coming up. We'll let you know about that in the coming days. Right now, let's welcome in Hall of Fame referee Bill McCreary on Winnipeg Sports Talk. There is a new book from the Hockey Hall of Famer, Bill McCreary, legendary NHL referee, called Stories from Ice Level. A great NHL referee tells all. And you want some guys with stories. I don't think you'd have anyone better than the guys at the Stripes, especially one with over 4 decades on the ice. Let's welcome in Hall of Famer Bill McCreary to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Bill, an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. I'm great. Excited to talk to you, gentlemen, today about a few stories.
Well, tell us right off the bat, because I mean, listen, we could probably do this for a day straight with all of your experience. But did you always think, man, I should write a book? I've been around and seen so much over the course of my life. This needs to go in, or was this something later on where you think, you know what, got a bit of time, and these are stories that need to be told?
Well, to be real honest, I'm a humble person, and the Hall of Fame come along in 2014. I had no idea, I had no inkling that was going to happen. And then as time rolled along, Rob Simpson and I became friends over the years. Rob worked for the NHL and ESPN, so really well known. And he approached me about doing a book a few years ago, and I kind of sort of brushed it off. And then my daughter kept saying to me, "Dad, you should do a book. I mean, you got so many stories." And so, like I said, Rob and I sat down a couple of summers ago at our house up in Thornbury, Ontario, and sat in the backyard, and he turned on his recorder, and we just started talking hockey, which I love doing. So it took off.
For some of our younger listeners and viewers that might not have remembered your entire career, just give us a quick background. Did you grow up? Were you a hockey player? How'd you get into reffing? And tell us about starting in the NHL.
Well, yeah, I thought I was a hockey player, but I learned real fast when I turned 20 years old and playing junior in Windsor, Ontario, that the only draft that I was ever going to get is the kind you buy. So I went back home and lived with my mother in Guelph, Ontario, and I was very fortunate. Guelph had a very, very strong representation of officials in the National Hockey League. I think there were 7 gentlemen at the time that had either worked in the NHL or were working currently at that time. And they all encouraged me to get involved with minor hockey or, officiating. Because, I mean, you play junior hockey, you can skate. I had some skill sets. I understood the game. So I got involved with the kids, and there was a gentleman by the name of Ken Bodendissel, who was a former NHL referee, and he was the head scout supervisor, if you will, for the major junior, and he invited me to start lining for them, and that's how it all got started.
It's and I think back to growing up and just watching the game, and really we're synonymous with the big game. I mean, we do 15 Cup finals. I mean, 3 Olympic Games. Could you have ever imagined when you decided to get involved in coaching minor hockey where putting that referee jersey on would take you?
No, I mean, I had no idea. I really did not, and I'm being very truthful about that. It was never on my bucket list or radar list to make the NHL and become a referee. And sort of when it all unfolded, and back when I was hired by the late Scotty Morrison now, who took a chance on me in 1982, there was only 12 NHL referees and 21 linesmen. So it was a real honor to be part of that group. And when I looked up the ladder and saw the likes of Bob Myers and Wally Harris and Ron Wicks and Brian Lewis, Danny Van Helmen, I mean, what a group of people. Ron Hogarth. I mean, how could you ever crack that nut? But I was lucky enough to hang in, and things went well, and people get injured, and you get an opportunity just like players, and things worked out well for me.
Bill, you mentioned those names, and I think of, being a kid. I mean, growing up and, like a lot of hockey fans, being mad at the ref for something that went against your old team. But I think of that cast of characters that you just kind of laid out. What was the interaction within the referee group? Was it like a team, or was it like a bunch of guys competing to be the best to, be the guy that's dropping the puck in the cup final?
Well, great question. At training camp, it was a great team, and the veterans were all. They were like they treated me like I was their son, and I say that honestly. And when I talk about 12 referees, you can imagine we're staying in a hotel, maybe with an invited group of 6, including myself, and it was they skated you very, very hard twice a day. I guess I can use it on air. It was called bag skating to see if you could survive, and then you went back to the hotel and got out of shape, drinking adult beverages until the next day. So I mean, just to sit around and listen to stories from Bob Myers and Harris and all of those guys was just an incredible time in my life. And I was very fortunate. I had a couple cousins that played in the NHL, Keith and Bill McCreary, for 10 years. So I had especially Keith to lean on, and he was like a big brother to me when it came to hockey. So I was very fortunate that my name was already in the game.
I want to ask you about some of the incredible stories in this book and the games that you refereed. But when you look back at your career, was there a guy or two that just gave you the most brain damage? Oh God, I got to deal with him again right now. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple.
Well, over the years, when you go back, like you said, 3 decades, in the 80s, you're going to laugh at this, but Al Arbor had a rule with his team that if he caught them hollering at an official, the players, he fined them $25. And that doesn't sound like a lot of money, and people would laugh at that, but it was then, and it went into their beer fund. And Al didn't believe in players hauling at officials. He felt as if there had to be something said. He did it. So breaking in with people like that, Scotty Bowman, all the great coaches, Brian Murray, you can go right down the list. I mean, I came through junior hockey, university hockey, Mike Keenan, the American Hockey League, and he and I graduated together to the National League. I mean, all these people are fantastic coaches, and I was just lucky to be a part of it.
It seems like, so many people, you don't have the longevity that you have, and then the opportunities as well with the league when you get off the ice without having that level of respect. And I think back to players, and I saw a quote from the book about Zdeno Chara. I'll just read this. But he was one of the most likable referees in the NHL because he was transparent, honest, and respectful. He earned the stripe and respect from all the players around the league. I'm grateful for his support through my career. And I think of that, what high praise from a player like Chara. When you think back to the players on the ice, was there, you mentioned the coaches, was there a player or two that, maybe went above and beyond the level of respect for officials that sort of stood out as opposed to a lot of the guys just chirping you for whatever call you made earlier in the game?
Well, the first name that jumps out at me that always was very welcoming and almost supportive of me was Larry Robinson. I remember calling a really bad penalty in the old Montreal Forum one night, and he skated over to me and put his arm around me. He said, "Don't worry about it, kid. We'll kill this off." And it was like he didn't have to do that. And I always remember that. And then as our careers advanced and Larry retired and got into coaching, he won a cup with the Devils. And I was part of that crew that worked the final game. And he, refereed in LA. And we had a really funny situation one night where I was working with 2 really senior linesmen and his team was playing terrible. And he was so mad at them. And so in the third period, and back in those days, you have to understand, referees really didn't call too many men. You left that call to the linesman. But for whatever reason, I had a brain freeze, and I started counting LA players on the ice, and I counted to 6 too many times, so I blew my whistle. And the 2 linesmen, Ray Scampanello and Swede Knox, skated over to me and said, "I can't wait to see you get yourself out of this one." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about? They got too many men on the ice." And they went, "He pulled the goalie." I said, "He pulled the goalie. There's 10 minutes left in the game." He was so mad at his players, he thought the goaltenders didn't deserve any more abuse. And I looked over at the bench, and there he was standing on the bench giving me the choke sign. So not only did I screw up 20 men, then I proceeded to throw him out of the game. So it was. And at the end of the game, there's a knock on the door, and it's Dave Taylor, the general manager, with Larry, and he wanted to apologize. And we shook hands. I apologized for my mistake. He apologized for his behavior, and shared an adult beverage together.
I'm sure that happened a few times over your legendary Hall of Fame career. Bill McCreary is with us. The book is Stories from Ice Level, a great NHL referee tells all. Listen, there's no way we'd have enough time, and people are going to have to get the book to go through all of your, moments and the games. But, I mean, listen, you were reffing the biggest games on the biggest stage. What was it? Not Game 7, Rangers, Devils, 1994, I guess. Mark Messier with the guarantee. It doesn't get much bigger than that. A legendary game. I mean, what do you remember about that game? And what's it like? I mean, we know how much pressure there is on the players. I imagine there might be some nerves for refs, too, going into that arena with so much on the line.
Well, as you alluded to, Mark promised in Game 6 there would be a Game 7, and I think he got a goal and 2 assists, or two goals and an assist. So there was a Game 7, and of course, New York was electric. They hadn't won the Cup in 50 years, right? And it was to sum up the game, there was 40 players playing that played like men, and I treated them like men. And there was a lot of talking, a lot of communicating. I was known as a pretty good communicator, so sometimes instead of putting your arm in the air and calling a penalty, you can communicate to players to back off a little bit, or keep your sticks down, or whatever the case may be. And I think we went into the second period of overtime, and I called 2 penalties in the whole game. And I always remember Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly saying it was one of the hardest fought games he's ever watched. And I always believe that career vaulted me and my career, because it was the first year then I worked the Stanley Cup Finals, and I worked 13 in a row after that.
I mean, is that the best, like the highest honor you can get? If you're in the National Hockey League, you work all season long so that you get the call from the director of officiating, say you're working the Cup Final?
Absolutely. I mean, and you can't believe how nerve-wracking it is. I can remember the one house we lived in, Guelph. I probably made 30 trips up the stairs to press the computer button and replicating to see if my name was on the sheet yet. And no matter how many times you work them or you don't work them, you're always nervous. You're always wondering if you're going to be selected. And I was just fortunate to be selected many times and participate with my teammates and be part of the greatest show on earth.
Wait a second, Bill. Is that how you find out? You don't get a call or something? You're just there refreshing your computer to see if your name is on the list?
That's how it's done. Yeah.
Bill, some people will have seen this before. Some people will have just seen it on a highlight and won't know what the hell's going on. But the infamous Boston Garden fan attack. I mean, if you could, maybe kind of just tee it up for people that aren't familiar what we've talking about and tell us what it was like from the Stripes perspective.
Do we have a couple minutes or not?
Oh, please, we do.
Okay. So I'm working with a linesman by the name of Ron Asseltine and Mark Vines. Mark and I worked major junior together. And of course, Ron had worked in the famous WHA league before it disbanded and was then brought onto the NHL staff. And Ron started a charity in our hometown, Make-A-Wish for children who had terminally ill diseases. So it was very close to his heart, and we all worked hard to support him in any way we could. So on that particular day, we're in Boston and Winnipeg's playing, and there's the first anniversary of his charity back in Guelph. It was a dinner and dance. Well, we knew we couldn't get back for the dinner. It was a 1:05 puck drop with a 4:15 flight back to Toronto. And those were the days where you ran on the plane, stuffed your bag up top of somebody else where they were sitting, and you ran back to another seat because your bag stunk so much, from being on the ice. But anyway, we get this game going, and late in the third period, Paul Fenton is back checking for Winnipeg, and he slashes Wesley's arm, who's carrying the puck, the young defenseman who was just a great defenseman. And the stick bounces up and hits Wesley in the cheek and cuts him. Well, high sticking is you have to carry your stick above the height of your shoulders, but people can argue you're supposed to be responsible for your stick all the time. So that's where the debate started. And of course, Terry O'Reilly, being the Irishman that he is, showed his anger, which he had a right to. And me being the Irishman that I am, I probably showed my stubbornness. So we were at loggerheads as the fans littered the ice and kept littering the ice. I thought there was going to be chairs come on next because everything that was unbolted was on the ice at one point in time. But we finally got the puck dropped, and unbeknownst to me, this young fan climbed up the glass, fell down to the ice, and started running towards me. And Ron Asseltine's nickname was Bear. And he hollers at me, "Mac, get out of the way." And I could hear his skates grinding on the ice. And he just, well, everybody knows that's watched the video. He just drills this kid into the boards. And it's been a story that's been crazy the whole time. And, the police came down to our dressing room after the game and wanted a statement from Ron. And I said, he was like an old lady in the dressing room. You had to get him in the shower. You had to get him. So I'm jamming his equipment in his bag and, trying to get him dressed and get him. We have to get going, and we're really tight for this flight. So I said to the cop, if you can give us a ride to the airport with the lights on, you can get all the statements you want. So we piled in the cop car and we got to the airport and made our flight. But it was an event, and I look back on it, and I was probably wrong. If I were to sit down with Terry O'Reilly and have a beer, which I'd love to do sometime. I refereed Terry a lot when he played, had a lot of respect for him. And Ray Boehlke was part of that too. And Ray was so classy, going back and forth between myself and Terry with messages. It seemed to last forever, but I'd love to talk about it. I would man up and say, you know what, looking at it now, I should have made the call.
Did you have any idea that a fan was climbing the glass when you were ready to get going?
He was right behind my back. And of course, the stance of a referee, you're leaning on your knees with your arms. And I had no idea. And the fans were hollering, but I just figured they're still hollering about the whole event that had taken place that I never called. And so, no, I did not know. The ironic thing about it is, I guess, and I don't know if every state's the same or what happens, but he made a call to his dad to come in to get him from the police station. His dad said, if you acted like that, you deserve to stay in jail overnight. So that's restate.
Bill McCreary is with us, Hall of Fame referee. The book is called Stories from Ice Level, a great NHL referee tells all. You can pick it up wherever you get books. Amazon, of course, your local bookstore. I have to ask you, with your career, you went through some eras of the National Hockey League, and early on, let's just say that there was the odd Donnybrook in the National Hockey League. What was the craziest fight that you remember? Just with teams, and what's that like when, there's three of you at that time on the ice, and you have two teams with like a back alley rumble right in front of you, and it's up to you to settle it all down.
Well, it's actually a bit scary because these are grown men that all of a sudden everybody's lost their emotion and away it goes, right? I had the last full scale brawl in the National Hockey League in Vancouver in 1988. Like all 40 men on the ice, and what happened was the old Pacific Coliseum. It was in the second period, and they're crossing over to make line changes. Stan Smith was skating to his bench, and Claude Lemieux leaned over on the Montreal bench and sucker punched him right across the forehead and ripped him open. So, of course, everybody jumped on the ice. And the two main combatants out of the whole 40 people were Sergio Momesso and Craig Cox. And I remember they started in one end, and that was a main bout. And they kind of got half undressed. And then the second bout between the same two were in center ice. And by the time they got down to the far end, they were down to suspenders, pants, socks, and skates. And they flailed away for a few minutes and finally just basically quit on their own. But it was a heavyweight tilt that went on. They were the two main combatants. And I've talked to both of them many times about it. And they both just say, now they have so much respect for one another. But at the time, of course, they want to get a pound of flesh of each other. And there was all kinds of other people wrestling and, rolling around. But at the end of the day, you try to keep it simple when you're assessing the penalties and get the main combatants and try to restore order. We still had about a period and a half to play. So it was quite an event. It was early in my career, but it was probably a great teaching moment for me as well.
Okay, I have to ask you. So everyone's off the bench. All these guys are fighting. It's chaos. Finally, things settle down. You and the linesmen get together around the penalty box. What the hell is going on when you figure out, guys, who's getting penalties? How do we adjudicate what we have just witnessed?
It's funny you asked me that question because I was with a senior linesman, Jim Christensen, who has unfortunately passed away, and a young linesman at the time, Brad Lazarewicz from Vancouver. And You just kind of stand there, and Jim was excellent in helping resolve, sort of put the puzzle together, if you will. And we got all the players that were paired up and so on and so on. And a lot of players get freebies for what their actions were because you can't penalize everyone. And ironically, Brian Lewis was our boss. He was supervising that night. And he came in the dressing room after and said, "Great job by you three guys. That was well handled." And he turned to me and said, "Except Bill, you forgot to give the goaltenders two each for leaving the crease." And I went, "Brian, please." After all of that, it was like, but yeah, it's an experience. I'm really glad, for the sake of the game, that that's not out there anymore. People don't pay money to go and watch that. They want to see the skill that these players have. And I was fortunate, as you mentioned, to the decades that I was involved, the great Islander teams, the great Edmonton teams, Stevie Eisman, Lemieux, of course, Wayne. And then it was, Ovechkin, Crosby, and of course, now you have all the superstars today. So I was just fortunate to be on the ice with so many great players.
And speaking of those great players, I mean, we could go back to, we mentioned Messier and, the stars, but, you would have finished your career as a young Sidney Crosby was sort of becoming the face of the National Hockey League. What do you remember about Sid coming into the league, and maybe tie that into your experience working the Olympic Games, which I'm sure was one of the great honors of your career?
Well, Sid was a great athlete and still is. I mean, look what he's doing at his age and how he prepares and works hard. I remember we were all stretching out in the hallway one night in New Jersey, and I saw him down the hallway, and I got up and I walked down to him and I said, "Sid, if I can give you a bit of advice, don't whine like some other superstars have in the past. Just play hard. Come and see the ref, explain what your concern is. You'll get respect if you give respect." And you know what? Through his whole career, I never remember him ever wanting to embarrass you. He was very classy. And leaving the Pittsburgh Arena one night, I heard some commotion down the hallway as I was walking back to my hotel. And I looked down the hallway. There was two people skipping long ropes. And he was jumping back and forth over the ropes from, the length of the ropes. I walked down the hallway and I said, "Sid, what are you doing?" He goes, "Billy, if I don't do this, I can't keep up. I have to keep building my core to play against the good athletes that are in the league today." So that kind of tells you what he does behind the scenes. And he just, look what he's doing again right now, representing Canada at the World Championships. So
I mean, he is in a lot of ways. I mean, you can compare him to Gretzky and Lemieux, but when we talk about international hockey, he truly is the gold standard for Canada, and still doing it. I mean, playing in the Olympics and now at the World Championships. It's unbelievable. Tell us about 2010 in Vancouver. I mean, you want to talk about a charged atmosphere. I mean, that was it.
It was really charged. And flipping back to 1998 in Japan, unfortunately, we're way over in Japan. And the fans, of course, aren't dialed into hockey in 1998. And so it was a little bit different. The gold medal game was Russia against the Czechoslovakian team. They don't like each other, and I didn't study that history or know that. So when they got on the ice and started playing, I mean, the stick work was incredible. We had to get control of that. But the rest of the game, Russia, I can't remember the shot total, but it was like 3-1. But the Czechs had Dominik Hasek, and he was like, a wall, and they just couldn't get the puck past him. And so, Dominik won the gold medal for them. And then you fast forward to Salt Lake City, and I was lucky enough to be selected to work the Canada-US game, and it was just a great game. And I mean, those 40 players that were playing, and refereeing, people don't understand, refereeing in the Olympics, for me, was refereeing 40 players from the National Hockey League. And it was the white team against the red team, or the white team against the blue team. And I knew I couldn't make mistakes. I had to be at my best. They were going to be at their best. And of course, they're playing for the country, so they want to win. But I had, we all had to go back to work, and I had to do my job, because if you don't, can you imagine what they say to you when you get back to the NHL? So being on the ice in Vancouver was, a great experience. That was the first Olympic that we had two referees. So Dan O'Halloran and I worked, and both teams had so many opportunities to score. Pavelski had an unbelievable chance in overtime. And I guess Roberto makes the big save, and then Canada goes down and buzzes around and ends up, getting a goal that, it's been long talked about now. It wasn't like a top shelf shot or a slap shot from the point or a 10-way passing play. It was just it was a play that happened. I think the players were starting to tire, and it was sort of like last shot will win. So it was a great experience.
Bill, you just mentioned the two refs. What was that like when they went from 1 to 2 referees, and how did that change the job?
Well, it changed the job a lot because for the fellows who have been around for a while, like Don Kowarski and Fraser, myself, and the rest of our team, you no longer had control of the game. It used to be your game when you went on the ice with your linesman. And when we went to 2 referees, it was a huge learning curve. And I still think there is somewhat of a learning curve today, because when you try to mesh 2 people to work a game in the playoffs, especially, it's difficult, and I know in the 2 referee system, Don Kowarski and I always seemed to work very well together. We had similar styles. We witnessed the game, observed the game much the same way. Don had a lot of respect from the players, and I think between the 2 of us, when we worked together in either game 6s or 7s, we were pretty successful.
Bill McCreary is with us. Bill, this has been just an absolute pleasure to have you on the program, and I cannot wait to read the book. I mean, much of the book is going to talk about, your time on the ice, but, as you stayed very much involved with hockey after refereeing. Tell us about what the time with the National Hockey League and what's going on in that room when the phone is picked up and you're not on the ice, but you're in the situation room. Fill people in. I'm sure fans are fascinated as to what's happening behind the scenes.
Well, first of all, Coley Campbell's in charge of the room, and Coley observes every game, whether he's in Toronto working in the room or whether he's at home in Tillsonburg, Ontario. He has his own situation room in his home. And he has 3 vice presidents that sit there at the front of the room now, the way it's designed. That's Chris King, who's in charge of the room, Rod Pasma, and Kay Whitmore. And when a call comes in for a challenge, the first thing that Chris will do is you grab your headset, and if I'm in there working that night, you grab your headset and you go to they have loggers that log every game, and they have 4 computers screens in front of them, and they set up all the replays for you to talk to the officials when there's a challenge. So it's showing the officials what has taken place, and in a lot of cases you're supporting their call, most cases, but if there's a better call to get to, you show them the replays. And in 99.9% of the time, they're grateful, as I would have been on the ice, to see something that helps you get to a better place in the game and hold up the integrity of the game, I guess is a better word. And that's the way it unfolds. But some nights when there's 10 games, there can be up to 15 games some nights. It is a mad scramble if there's 2 or 3 challenges within the same time frame. It's really... It's a really busy place when there's a lot of games some nights.
How did you guys, as the referees, feel about bringing in instant replay? Was that something that you guys were happy because it would help you, or was it somewhat of a challenge to the job that was being done?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit, I'm old-fashioned, and I was a little bit defensive about the whole system at first. I thought, you know what, Chris King played and Rod played, got drafted by Washington. Obviously, Kay was a goaltender in the NHL for a long time, but they never officiated. So I was always very defensive. Mike Murphy was in there for a long time. Mike was, a really good player in Los Angeles. He coached many teams, well respected in the industry. So a lot of good people involved, but I still was defensive because they never officiated. And so once I had the opportunity to get into the room and work with them, I realized what a great team they were and what a great team to be part of.
Rob, Bill, this has been a great chat. I know you and Rob worked on the book, Stories from Ice Level, a great referee, NHL referee tells all. Just before we go, it's amazing on how much hockey has been part of your life and how much you've given to it, obviously being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. But you're still involved right now. Tell us about working with the PWHL and being a big part of the movement of this incredible league that's had such a great start in the last couple of seasons.
Well, it's been a great experience for me when you look at an upstart league that in less than 3 years started with 6 teams. Now they're at 12 as of yesterday. I mean, a credit to the whole group of people who are involved in selecting those expansion franchises and making this work. From my side of it, I'm not on the business side whatsoever, and I wouldn't want to be. I'm involved with the officials, and it's something I enjoy doing because I feel that I can pass on my experiences to them a little bit, help them be a little bit better, and hopefully in the future we'll have a full-time staff that'll make it work a lot easier.
Well, Bill, this has been so much fun. Listen, I could literally keep you on here for 3 hours and just pick your brain. Like at some point, we'd love to have you back, but in the meantime, we'll wish you nothing but success with the PWHL and obviously with the book, folks. Pick it up, order it. Stories from Ice Level, a great NHL referee tells all. I don't even think we've scratched the surface with this conversation today. Bill, it's an absolute pleasure having you on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thank you again.
Thank you for your professionalism and great talk, and I would love to come back.
All right, great stuff with Bill McCreary. Really appreciate him jumping on the program today. All right, hey, we are locked in and ready to go for the World Cup, and so are our friends at Royal Sports. Get on down to Royal and get the best in selection of Canada gear for the World Cup, featuring many of your favorite players. They've got the countries from all around the world represented. Royal Sports. I mean, it's always been your best place for NHL, NFL, Winnipeg Jets merch, Blue Jays, and more. They are fully stocked for the Royal World Cup and ready to go. And while you're there, check out all the soccer, softball, baseball, tennis gear for the summer, and the huge selection of bikes in the back. And make sure to check out their next tent sale. Follow Royal Sports Winnipeg on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Back at it tonight for the Winnipeg Goldeyes after a great crowd, not a great game. Looking for win number 1 on the season. They're back at it tonight at 6:30. Get out to the ballpark, even nicer than it was yesterday. And it'll continue to get nicer as the Fish go through their first homestand of the year. You can pick up tickets at goldeyes.com. And make sure to join us tomorrow. We've got a great Travel Manitoba segment coming up that I think you're going to love. And if you are planning your next adventure for the weekend or holidays, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. And if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. All right, ahead of Game 1 between the Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche, let's head west and check in with Ken Boehlke from Sin Bin Vegas. Ken, great to have you back in Winnipeg. How are you? Well, we're looking forward to what should be a couple of very interesting series with two sort of heavily favored home teams in the Carolina Hurricanes and the Avalanche. Certainly the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have something to say about that. But Ken, I got to tell you, it's kind of weird for a team that is playing in the Final Four and in the conference championship of most of the storylines involving things not to do with the series. It's been a wild few days in Vegas.
What are you even talking about? What storylines are we talking about? Everything's been only about hockey, has it not?
I still don't understand for the life of me what the hell they were doing after Game 6. How was that received amongst the Vegas media, but also from Vegas Golden Knights fans?
I mean, in the media, we have to be careful to not overinflate how important we are. And I'm trying to make that clear. It's not that big deal, but post-game media is not optional. That's part of the deal. That's part of playing in the NHL. That's one of the reasons the NHL is what it is that we have all these storylines. And how it was received was by almost just shock. It happened. We all were like, wait, what? John Tortorella does not speak? What? And then everybody kind of went about their day, and then we all stepped back and were like, wait a minute, he actually just skipped that, didn't he? And there's really like they said yesterday, they have no excuse for it. There was no excuse for it. They made up something about the bus leaving and that and whatever, but there really was no good excuse for it. Fans are kind of trying to rationalize what happened and say that all of this is not all that important, but I think they're just trying to come to the terms with like, wait, they did something really, really stupid and it cost a second round pick. Why? And there's not a good answer for it. They don't have a good answer for it.
It was, there's always been a lot of hubris with John Tortorella, but the most insane thing about this is that John Tortorella, for all intents and purposes, is on a tryout with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
And he just cost them $100,000 and, at least for now, a second round pick. Only
Technically,
Torts.
it's supposed to be his $100,000, right? I don't know who's actually going to cut that check, but it said it was his $100,000. At least that's what it said. I don't know, but yeah, the pick's a bigger deal. Like, yeah, you're on a tryout and you cost the team a second round pick, but like, what not that they expected to lose a second round pick, but like, what did the Golden Knights expect to bring in John Tortorella with 8 games left in the season? Something was going to happen. It happened.
Yeah, well, it certainly did. Now, we'll see how that all shakes out, and we certainly heard a very contrite Kelly McCrimmon own it yesterday, said we accept all the blame and we'll move forward, and it won't happen again. The other part of his very carefully prepared statement yesterday involved Bruce Cassidy, and listen, I sort of get maybe being a little nervous about a guy that won a cup with you moving on to a division rival potentially in the Edmonton Oilers. But it is sort of wild that a team is preventing them from talking to a coach when they just had to go and get permission from Philly to hire Torts.
While also using the weird half-baked excuse of we're focused on the playoffs despite having 6 days off in between their playoff games. I don't even know what to make of that. That one's just ridiculous. That's almost as bad as the bus was leaving. Like, they're two crazy excuses. They're eventually, I think to me, like, at some point, they're eventually going to let him interview with wherever he wants to interview, mainly because NHL teams cannot afford $4.5 million to pay a coach to not coach for them. Like, this league doesn't make that much money. They make a lot, but $4.5 million is a lot. And I don't think they're just going to allow him to sit on the sideline and not coach another team. I think what they're doing at the moment is they're just trying to slow roll it to make sure that every single opportunity opens. Vancouver just opened today. Maybe you'll see, I doubt it, but maybe Buffalo opens. What if Carolina opens? What if Colorado opens? Probably not any of these are going to happen. But if they do, and Bruce Cassidy may have wanted to take that job instead of Edmonton or LA, if they can just slow roll it a little bit farther, maybe another job will open up and they can kind of steer him away from Edmonton. I think in the end, if whatever job Bruce Cassidy wants, that's the job he's going to take, and that's the job he's going to get.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can tell you, and we're just seeing this on the wire right now, it won't be Buffalo because Lindy Ruff just got a 2-year extension to stay behind the bench of the Sabres after the wonderful season that they just finished up. Is it safe to say, Ken, that this is all about the Edmonton Oilers and the worst-case scenario or the fears of the Vegas Golden Knights is Butch moving elsewhere in the division and then going at it for a number of games in the regular season and probably a playoff series next year?
I mean, it's clearly has something to do with the Oilers, but honestly, I think it's more to do with, like, this is what the Golden Knights do. This is how the Golden Knights operate. If there's a small loophole they can take advantage of, they're going to do it. And if we can make life just a little bit harder on some of these other teams, they're willing to do it. And if that means that Bruce Cassidy doesn't get what he wants, so be it. I just think this is just their MO, and they're doing it again. And everybody then gets mad about it, and then we all get to judge whether they should have got mad about it.
Ken Boehlke of Sinbin.Vegas with us here. When do you think that there'll be some clarity on this? Because I'll be honest, like, from an NHL perspective, I don't think they love the optics of this. We heard the statement from the NHL Coaches Association yesterday. And if you don't have any skin in the game, from a league perspective, what could be juicier and add a little bit more to a rivalry than Cassidy moving in the division for next season and coaching McDavid and Draisaitl against the Knights?
Yeah, it sounds awesome. There was a part of me that, like, the day that he got fired and they hired Tortorella, I was like, all right, get him out of there, get Knobloch out of there, and get Cassidy up there right now. Let's do it for a playoff series. Like, that would have been fun. I would have enjoyed that. But, like, when do I think this gets clarity? I think the Golden Knights are going to drag their feet as long as they're alive. So if that's the rest of this series and then that's it, or if that goes into the Cup final, I think they're going to try and say that this is what we're doing. We're going to keep doing this. But eventually, PA's reaching out, or the Coaches Association's reaching out. The league obviously doesn't want this as the precedent to be set. They don't need that every single coach's contract needs to be rewritten because the Golden Knights were being petty for a few days. I think eventually they're going to allow it. And if that's where he ends up going, they're just going to have to beat him. And they can. I don't see why they couldn't. Like, I think they're in a better place than Edmonton in regards to the roster build. Look at where the two teams are right now.
Ken, there is some business to take care of, and that's tonight in Denver. Just thoughts on the challenge of the Colorado Avalanche and what is ahead for the Vegas Golden Knights if they want to continue their run through the playoffs?
Yeah, it's a tall task. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche are not President's Trophy winners, number one in the league in scoring, number one in the league in defense for no reason. They're legitimately a juggernaut, and they've ripped through two playoff series in a way that the Golden Knights did not, and against, at least in Minnesota, a much better opponent. Makar not being in the lineup, I think, is a huge loss for Colorado. I think it completely changes how they play and how consistently they can play with activating their defensemen and keeping the puck in the offensive zone. So that's a big loss. We don't know what's going to happen with Mark Stone. He skated this morning, but he skated with all the morning scratches in a practice that nobody else that's playing would have skated in. So we don't know. Tortorella's answer was, I'm not giving you updates on injuries. That was also helpful. But it's a tall task. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Golden Knights to get this done. I'm not saying it's impossible. They can do it. They've done it before. 5 years ago, they beat this team. But this is probably the tallest task I think they faced in any of their playoff series ever. And I think the closest ones are maybe the Winnipeg series back in 2017 and then the final of that year as well.
Yeah, it should be some awesome hockey. As far as Stone goes, he won't play tonight, and I guess it is. We probably aren't going to get any more information until the end of the series. But I mean, how big of a loss is that for Vegas if the guy that has been such a huge part of all of their success can't go?
Yeah, it's massive. Unless you have different information than I have, he has not been ruled out for tonight. I don't know if I misheard you there.
Oh, well, no. I mean, I guess it was the reports that he was just with the scratches and it didn't look like he was in the lineup. Yeah. But I guess like everything, you got to wait till you get to the rink.
Right. We do here in Denver, we think it is possible that he could play. He has done this before where he has skated once and then plays in the game. I think it is certainly possible. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying I think it is possible. We will find out. If they do not have him, or if he is severely hampered from whatever injury it was that he got midway through the Anaheim series, it's a huge loss. It's not only a huge loss in just how darn good of a player he is, it's a huge loss in, like, there's an emotional aspect to him that I think they're going to need in this series. They're going to need that belief that they can get this done, and I think he's going to deliver some of that if he's in the lineup. Without him, it's going to have to be up to Mitch Marner, who's been really good, Jack Eichel, William Karlsson's held a little bit of that role. It's just not the same as not having your captain.
I guess the big story on the Avalanche side, and this is a big opportunity for the Knights, is that you get to play a high-powered Avs team, at least without one of their superstars, and that's a big hole and a game-changing absence on the blue line of Cale Makar.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. They just are not going to be able to transition the puck as quickly. They're not going to be able to keep it in the offensive zone. I think it's a big opportunity for Sam Malinsky. I'm assuming he's the one that steps into that role. He's very, very good. I don't think he's Cale Makar good, but I think he's a lot better than people know at this point. And for him to get that chance and step up, and then game ones are weird, though. Like, game ones are always this crazy feel them out process, and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. So in a weird way, it's like we have to be careful to not go overboard with some of these guys being out and what the way the game's going to be played. But inevitably, I'm probably going to do that the second the puck drops later tonight.
Ken, thanks so much for doing this. Looking forward to the game tonight, and just looking forward to some clarity on all the other wonderful storylines surrounding the Vegas Golden Knights as we get into the conference finals.
So am I. I would love clarity on some of this stuff, but this is what covering the Golden Knights brings, and it's been fun for 10 years.
Yeah, never a dull moment. Enjoy the game tonight. Thanks so much.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
All right, there's Ken Boehlke. Check out the latest on the Knights at sinbin.vegas. Man, I was thinking about just before the show today, looking out, seeing the sun, looking at the forecast next week, going, oh man, a week from right now, we'll probably be doing a shore lunch out at Aikens Lake. Getting out early this year to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, and could not be more excited. You've heard me talk about it before, but folks, if you are into fishing, or maybe someone that actually hasn't done much but wants to go out to a world-class place and have people show you the ropes, put you on some big fish, and give you a few days that you'll never forget, Aikens Lake is the spot. World-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Terren family and the Aikens team. Check out more at aikenslake.com for the entire Aikens story, features, options for going out, whether it's a corporate retreat, whether it's just a couple of friends, some couples, many different options for you, and of course, availability for the 26 fishing season. Check them out on all the socials at Aikens Lake, and again, inquire as to availability at aikenslake.com. We're going to be talking about the upcoming CJ Cup with Pat Gregoire in a few minutes. Of course, Breezy Bend are wonderful partners when it comes to talking golf. And we'll check in on the local golf scene tomorrow with Brian Munns from Golf Manitoba. Looking forward to having Munnsy on the program. In the meantime, if you're looking at making one of Winnipeg's top private courses your long-term home, check out Breezy Bend. Incredible changes both to the course and the facility over the last 10 years. It is truly an unbelievable spot with maybe the healthiest membership and social scene you'll find in the province. Go to breezybend.ca for more information on membership options and features of Breezy. Unbelievable place to host weddings as well. You can also give a call at 895-7205. Ask for our pal Corey Johnson. Would love to talk to you about Breezy Bend. All right, Pat still to come. We're going to have our horse race for the second winner in the Assiniboia Downs contest as well. First up, though, we're going to hook up with our friends at Sport Manitoba right after a big cheers to our great sponsors at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, it's time for another It Takes a Community to Play segment with our friends at Sport Manitoba. And this one, it's an important one that I think everyone needs to listen to, and it does discuss some new legislation in the province. It's a pleasure to welcome in Brent Poplawski, the Safe Sport Coordinator at Sport Manitoba. Brent, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, listen, before we get to business, with a name like Poplawski, is it safe to assume that you are the son of legendary Blue Bomber and fan fave Joe Pop?
Oh, thanks for that. Yes, I am. He's my father. Yep.
Well, I mean, people will kill me if I don't ask right off the bat. How is Joe doing these days? He's been in the community for a long time and was such a beloved member of really the last time the Blue Bombers were a wrecking crew like they've been over this last era.
Oh, yeah, thanks. No, he's doing very well. Thanks for asking. He and my mom are both enjoying the retirement life. They spend a lot of time at our family cottage in Lac du Bonny, and he's a big time golfer. So he loves Granite Hills and also traveling a little bit outside to the Pinawa golf course. So he keeps busy. He and my mom both keep busy. They're grandparents now, so they do a lot of babysitting, and which they really enjoy. And a lot of I have 4 nephews. I have an oldest brother who has 4 boys, and all of whom are heavily involved in sport right now. So if anybody goes to minor hockey games in the city of Winnipeg, they'll be seeing my dad and my mom at the hockey rinks because they're always rooting on my nephews. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. And listen, lots of love for Joe Pop in the chat. So let him know that the listeners of Winnipeg Sports Talk are still big fans and wish him well. Brent, let's get to, first off, I mean, you are the safe sport coordinator for Sport Manitoba. We'll get into legislation and more of what you guys are doing, but tell us a little bit about your role at Sport Manitoba and safe sport here in the province at all levels.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good question because, foundationally, there's no consensus or agreed upon definition of safe sport right now. The primary goal of safe sport, though, is to prevent maltreatment in sport. That's essentially the main focus. But different organizations define safe sport slightly differently and may have slightly different frameworks, but that is the agreed upon goal, to prevent and address all forms of maltreatment in sport. And it's my job to create awareness and outreach and education initiatives that will help enhance the knowledge amongst community stakeholders of what safe sport is, of what maltreatment is, and how to appropriately conduct yourself in sport settings. So I took this role in 2023. Prior to that, though, I worked for Hockey Winnipeg as a development coordinator. So I was involved in sport administration then. And now this was a new position that Sport Manitoba created. And I'm happy that they did because it is probably the most prominent topic, I would say, throughout Canada's sports system right now in ensuring that stakeholders are treated appropriately and ensuring that maltreatment doesn't occur. So that's my role, and that's essentially what safe sport is. It is a movement to prevent and address maltreatment in sport.
And I'm sure from a Sport Manitoba perspective, very important to have someone like you in that role because, I mean, obviously with hockey, it's a big enough sport with large enough branches and executives that there are many people, but there are also a lot of, smaller sports or sports that are under different umbrellas that might not have the access to the resources that, a sport like hockey might have. And all of that will come under Sport Manitoba. And I guess that sort of leads us to something that just came in recently here in the province, the Protecting Youth in Sports Act. I would imagine the Sport Manitoba was involved in that as well. If you can, tell us a little bit about the act itself and how it was all put together, if you can.
Sure, yeah. So the Protecting Youth in Sport Act is provincial legislation that just came into effect last month on April 1st. And essentially, the act goes a long way in advancing safe sport in Manitoba. A lot of safe sport initiatives were recently created at the national level. There were a lot of initiatives created that were with the intent on preventing maltreatment within national sport organizations in Canada, which is a good thing. National level participants do deserve to be protected and they deserve to have those maltreatment-free sport experiences. But unfortunately, a lot of those initiatives, they weren't designed to capture everyone in the sports system, so they didn't reach the provincial and the community levels. Now, this is where the Act comes in. So the Act addresses those gaps by ensuring that all provincial sport organizations adopt certain initiatives that go a long way in advancing safe sport and preventing and addressing maltreatment in Manitoba. Essentially, the Act requires sport organizations to adopt certain policies that ensure that all forms of maltreatment are prohibited, and if maltreatment does occur, it needs to be reported to an independent third party who oversees the allegation. One of the reasons why maltreatment can occur in sport is because organizations and stakeholders prioritize the prevention of certain forms of maltreatment, most notably sexual maltreatment, which is understandable. But all forms of maltreatment can be problematic. So the Act is beneficial, and it's a real positive thing in that it clearly outlines that all forms of maltreatment are prohibited, and organizations, again, need to adopt certain policies. And they need to post certain information that on their websites that educate their stakeholders on what maltreatment is and where they should go if maltreatment does occur.
You know, there is a piece at Sport Manitoba that, discusses what is maltreatment. But maybe if you could, in a nutshell for our listeners, describe what it is that we're talking about here outside of the obvious with, sexual abuse that you touched on.
Sure, yeah. So maltreatment refers to any action or failure to act that results in or has the potential to result in harm. Historically, before this safe sport movement, before safe sport itself was discussed, topics of athlete safety were certainly, obviously transpired in Canada's sports system, but the terminology used then focused on harassment and abuse. Both of those actions or both of those concepts refer to actions that result in harm. Maltreatment is broader and it's used now because there's more understanding that failures to act and inactions can be just as problematic as a harmful action. So that's why the concept of maltreatment is used. We do have, if you go on our Safe Sport, our website, at sportmanitoba.ca/safesport, we have created a concise document entitled Understanding Maltreatment. It's a 2-pager that is meant to educate the public on what maltreatment is and certain examples of this, of what it is.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, there are so many great resources at Sport Manitoba for literally everything in regards to sport in our province at pretty much every level. This being such a priority with the new legislation in, tell people a little bit, if you could, about what's available at Sport Manitoba for people that want more information about this, as well as resources to whether help determine if something is in this purvey or need help for something under this umbrella.
Sure. I will certainly highlight our Safe Sport line right now. If anybody feels that they may have been harmed, or if they witness any harm, or they think something may have occurred, you can call our Safe Sport line. And if you don't want to call, you can email our Safe Sport line and somebody will respond to you within 24 hours. So that is a free service that we offer. Please take advantage of that. You can find out more information on our Safe Sport line by visiting our website. Like I said, we do have information on maltreatment itself. We do have information on the independent third-party service that we provide. So you can access videos, you can access guidelines that we have created that explain the maltreatment reporting procedure. We also do have a number of tips for athletes of all ages. We just created a Safe Sport handbook for parents and guardians. I strongly encourage parents and guardians and athletes to have a look at these resources. They try to educate these stakeholders on how they should conduct themselves in sport, how young athletes can be protected, and what these individuals should do if they experience or if they witness harm occurring. So have a look at our webpage. I don't have enough time to go through everything, but I think that I do appreciate the opportunity for me to notify the public that we do have a Safe Sport page, and there is a lot of relevant information there. So please check it out and educate yourselves in this space as much as you can.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I mean, courses as well as articles. There are guides, cool infographics, pretty much at every level. The one thing I did want to touch on with you is a part of this, and that is the role of bystanders. We've often heard about this when it comes to some of the more, frankly, notorious incidents that probably led to these sort of legislation, that people maybe had an inkling that something was happening, and, their role of reporting it. Just the role of bystanders and how bystanders can help out if they do feel like they either are present or hearing or feeling that there are some things going on that frankly shouldn't be.
Great question. And there is an interesting course called the Bystander Empowerment course or Bystander Information Program. You put me on the spot, so I can't exactly remember the specific title, but the Coaching Association of Canada program just created a 20-minute online course that is free for all coaches and sport leaders to take. So I strongly encourage people to take this course because it's It's not overwhelming. It's not extremely lengthy. I believe, as I mentioned, it's only about 20 to 25 minutes. And it does educate sport leaders on what they should do if they see or experience harm taking place. You certainly don't want to put yourself in a position where you might put yourself in danger if you see something occurring. But if you're in an athletic environment and you see something that doesn't seem right, you can notify a sport leader there, notify someone in a position of authority that there might be an inappropriate conduct occurring. And to your point, one of the reasons why maltreatment can occur is because people in an environment may not know what to do, and they may normalize this conduct. It's really important to note that everybody plays a role in advancing safe sport, including those bystanders. So people do have a responsibility to step up and step in if something is occurring. Have a look at the course, and you'll understand tools that can assist you with those actions.
Yeah, if you go to the if you click on resources at Safe Sport, I mean, you'll see a 3-part video series put together by the Winnipeg Police Community Relations Unit, and then the next one is the bystander empowerment education video that you can basically jump on right there amongst more than a dozen other resources for people when it comes to safe sport. Brent, really appreciate you joining us. Keep up your very important work, and say hi to Joe Pop for everyone here at Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Will do. I really appreciate that. Thanks again for having me.
All right, great stuff with our friends at Sport Manitoba. We'll have more coming up in the coming weeks with them. And as I say, a really cool Travel Manitoba segment tomorrow that you are going to not want to miss, especially those of you that like getting on a bike. We're going to bring in Pat Gregoire, who was just there 2 seconds ago, and we just lost him. We'll bring him back right away and get him up. But while we do get Patty back in the All right, sorry about that little crash. I don't know what's up with the gremlins these days. But let's welcome in, back after his suspension and back after a great job calling a very exciting NLL Finals, which I actually tuned in for. Caught a lot of Game 1. Here is our pal, Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. What's going on? Your World Travels is finished and the NLL season is finished. Man, as I mentioned to you and I texted you, that first game between the Rock and Halifax in the NLL final certainly gave you and your stablemates in the TSN broadcast team a lot to talk about. That was a real thriller and a heck of a way to finish up the season.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. All Canadian showdown. Both those arenas absolutely packed. Like the atmosphere down in the Hammer was outstanding. Unbelievable comeback from Toronto, and then you go into Halifax on Sunday, sold out crowd, like just one of the coolest lacrosse, experiences I've ever had. I've called games in finals in Buffalo multiple times at KeyBank Center. So you're talking about like 19,000 people. I've done Pepsi Center, or I guess Ball Arena, again, another NHL, NBA venue where they've, not fully filled that place, but 15,000 people. You only got about 1,150 in Halifax there, but in that old small barn with the tin roof, singing Heave Away after every goal, like it was just unbelievable. Unfortunately for the home side, Toronto ends up taking this thing, and I think kind of proves that they were the best team. The best team won. I think, they got the great blend of young superstars and old veterans kind of putting that together. And I know folks here aren't probably going to want to hear it, but like Toronto winning and being champions is great for the league. I mean, this is a team that, back during the heyday of the NLL, that was the team that was the dynasty. And I'm not ready to say dynasty for Toronto yet, but they've got a young team. And, I think that's great news for the league. I think Halifax having a good team in a mid-small market is huge as well, but all in all, unbelievable. And yes, you're right. The travel is crazy. Went from Talon to Toronto to Hamilton to Halifax and back. Maybe the jet lag was punishment for my suspension, but let's be honest. I think the real punishment, which is very potential, is that the impending Montreal Canadiens versus Mitch Marner Stanley Cup final is very well a possibility.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it would be stunning if that happened and we had both upsets in the conference finals. But, I mean, listen, especially with Montreal, like I've been saying ever since the start, this team has a level of voodoo come playoff time that no other team can even come close to, and we've seen it now. I mean, they've been thoroughly outplayed in 2 Game 7s and are about to drop the puck on game number 1. And if there was ever a time when maybe the team that had played the 7 games has a bit of an advantage, it's against a team with an all-time record layoff of 12 games between games. I went over the Game 1 lines, but here's what the series prices are as we speak. Habs plus 215, Carolina minus 270. And again, if you go to Coolbet, I mean, there's full series props, so points, goals. You can jump on your Alex Newhook goal number and cash that. And then we've got Colorado and Vegas. Similar numbers. Colorado minus 263, Vegas plus 210. That one's come down just slightly because of the Cale Makar news. But let me ask you this, what I put out earlier today on the question of the day. Of the 2 underdogs, Vegas or Montreal, what do you think has got a better chance of winning? Who would be a better bet of if you want an underdog in the conference finals?
I know the number is better for Vegas, and I know when you look at that roster on paper, they probably have the better chance. And Makar being out is obviously a big factor. But you said this, man. Canadians just have team of destiny vibes written all over them. The fact you talk about the layover, like a team that is just, feeling great about themselves, rolling into a game against Carolina that we haven't seen in almost 2 weeks. Like, I know Rod the Bod's probably got these guys firing on all cylinders. And if there is a team that probably could deal with that layover, it's probably them. It's just, you say it, the voodoo, the good vibes, the team of destiny. It just really, to me, feels like that's who Montreal is. And let's be honest, Vegas hadn't really gone through a meat grinder to get to where they are. This is a significant uptick in competition that they're going up against in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you. I mean, if I had to pick one of the two, I think it's the Habs. And to me, the Habs, it's all about Game 1. I mean, if they can carry this momentum through and, maybe catch Carolina a little sluggish for the first half of the game and find a way to win Game 1, it is series on as far as I'm concerned. If Carolina jumps on them, takes the first 2 at home, I think there's a chance we could have the clock striking midnight for Cinderella right now. Hey, speaking of Cinderella, before we get to the golf, I am still in shock about last night. I had the Knicks minus 6.5. I went to the baseball game. I got to the bar afterwards to meet up with a bunch of the friends. It was midway through the 4th quarter, and I think the Knicks were down 18. And it was a friend's birthday. I kind of turn around. I'm starting to talk to them for the next 15 minutes. I basically mentally ripped the ticket up, and I turn over and see on the TV behind me that the game was going to overtime. And at that point, the Knicks just didn't stop. They finished the game on a 44-11 run, covering the spread. One of the most likely covers, I'm sure, in NBA playoff history. That must have sent a few shockwaves through the book at Coolbet last night with what had happened.
Oh my gosh. I wish I went to go check to see what the live lines were at that point, or like, that is by far.
It might have been off the board.
You're right. You're totally right. It might have been completely off the board. Like, that was unbelievable. Like what a comeback that was. And this, let's be honest, this is a Knicks team. This is the Knicks. They're the ones used to the collapse and falling flat on their face. Unbelievable. Like one of the most historic, like craziest games. I was coaching last night, so I didn't have full eyes on it, but going back and looking to seeing like, the probability of wins at certain point, the fact that they were able to do that and the fact that they were able to cover the number as well, which is absolutely hilarious. You want to talk about team of destiny vibes. Good Lord. You got to feel pretty good if you've got a Knicks ticket, not just to win this series, but maybe even the NBA final.
Yeah, and speaking of NBA, a game 2 tonight between the Spurs and Thunder. And, after all these blowouts and a really boring, frankly, first 2 rounds of the playoffs where even the game 7s were like 30-point blowouts, the Spurs winning that first game in OKC, I think, really changed things. Looking at the series price right now, it is Spurs minus 114, OKC minus 108. I've seen other places where it's the Thunder a little bit of a favorite. Yeah. So certainly if you like the Thunder, you're looking at a good number here for backing SGA. But Wemby just seems to be a man possessed. Hard to imagine this one not going the distance. But to me, this is the game. Like if OKC does not win this game at home, and important to note, as great as they were 1-4 this year against the Spurs. Mm-hmm. This one could potentially be over, and Wemby could get the last laugh after Shea got the MVP, and then he went out and did one of the all-time great playoff performances in NBA history with the 40-plus points and the 20-plus boards in that double OT win.
Yeah, and all the crap talk too, like Wemby, he's making it abundantly clear that he believes he should have been the MVP. And I mean, this is what makes, basketball, like this is when basketball's the best, is when there is those rivalries, when guys don't like each other. So like I'm all in for this series. I think this series, even though I just said the Knicks have team of destiny vibes, and just so you know, a big reason I think also why they came back, I don't know if you saw, but Danhausen actually cursed Cleveland.
I saw him at the game. I didn't realize this. Dad, you are cursed. I love it.
Yes. So
that's going to add to the lore. So. That is going to add to the lore of Danhausen.
Absolutely. Absolutely
so
it is. Yeah, so he cursed them. But yeah, like go back to the West final, like that's just like when you think of like the heydays of the NBA. There he is. Look, see? You are cursed.
The best.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's great. But yeah, I think you're right. Tonight is the swing game. I think it'd be abundantly hard for OKC to come back, but like 7 points. I mean,
I'm thinking what you're thinking. Like, I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight, and for them to win this game, it's going to be like I'm taking the 7 right now with the Spurs tonight,
yeah.
And I think I might be taking the Spurs on the spread in most of the games. I mean, we'll see what the line is like when it goes to San Antonio. But for right now, I mean, I think this will be a real fun game. Starts at 7:40 our time tonight. 7 is the number on both sides, and the total for this one, it's been going over like every game with the help of double overtime, obviously, in game number 1, but just the OKC lately, plus 216 and a half. And for what it's worth, Knicks 6-point favorites in the game tomorrow. I think that game killed the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think this is going to be a short series, and they might get one at home. I don't think it's happening tomorrow night. So if you do want to go with the next 2 games, I like Spurs plus 7 and the Knicks minus 6. Patty, let's get to some golf. Just before we get CJ picks, what a wild PGA, and like a leaderboard and a Sunday unlike any I can remember. And it's frankly incredible that we're talking about. It was like Aaron Rai and Schmidt and Smalley who really did hold their own against the best in the world. And it was 2 gloves himself, Aaron Rai, getting the job done. An amazing story. First British winner since 1934, the PGA Championship, which is crazy. But this was a guy that in the most stacked leaderboard we've seen in a major in forever simply went out and beat the pants off the best in the world and was fully deserving for that win.
It's it's absolutely nuts. Like, he would have been one of the last guys on that board that I would have picked. And I've bet Aaron Rye to win tournaments. He's won me money before, but we're talking about like the John Deere Classic. Like, we're not talking about the freaking PGA Championship with a board littered with the best players on the planet. Like, everyone assumed, okay, who is hunting down Smalley at the top? Is it going to be Scotty? Is it going to be Rahm? Is it going to be, heck, even some even smaller players like a Nick Taylor, who's had the gumption and won in big spots before? Like, I don't think anyone could have predicted what happened, considering all that great talent at the top. But you got to give him a lot of credit. You have to give him a ton of credit to go into that spot and kind of do it sweat-free near the end. Like, he kind of put his mark on things and closed out pretty big.
Well, the 68-footer on 17 was just outrageous.
Insane.
And I mean, that was
Insane.
That was a true exclamation mark on the victory. And very quiet guy. I mean, I don't think he's going to change very much moving forward, but that was a life-changing victory. Moving on to this week, and I'm glad we spent some more time on the other sports, because like, of all of our golf convos throughout the year, this has to be one of the least anticipated tourneys, considering it's the first week after the major, tons of guys sitting out. But Pat, in all of the Tiger Woods era, in the Scotty Scheffler era, with him being the best, I can never remember a PGA Tour full field tournament favorite being shorter than 2-1. Scotty Scheffler is plus 175. Like, the
Crazy.
field is probably basically like minus 240 or something.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy, especially considering, we haven't seen full Scotty yet, but I guess it's in Texas. This is one of I know there are some big names. It is still a weaker field. He has shown flashes, like he was still mixing last week at the PGA. So, it doesn't matter though. Like, this is still a golf tournament. The way that Pat Mayo broke it down this week, he was saying like he's like priced as like what a 4.5 favorite in an NFL game would be on, or underdog on the money line would be right now. Like, it's crazy. Plus 175. So I'm not going to take him. Like, his top 5 number is minus 270. It's crazy, but there is a good chance that Scheffler walks into this place. His game fits so well. He's from Texas. He plays well at this golf course. So would it be surprised if he runs away with this thing? Absolutely not.
If you want to bet a couple long shots, you can get Scheffler for top American at plus 135, and that includes like Spieth and Koepka, who are 3rd and 4th on the list. If you think that maybe it's going to be like a Hisatuni or a Siwoo Kim or something to go in there and get it on both sides. But it is Scotty versus everyone else. Hard to bet a golf favorite in a full field tournament at that number. So who's catching your eye right now as we get ready for tee off tomorrow?
I'm not going to go too much further down the board, but I like Siwoo Kim plus 1250. He's the second favorite, and I think he is kind of been really trending in the right direction and just so close to getting that first win on tour this season. He fits the course well. He's super well-rounded. And then my second pick, not too much further down the board, Brooks Koepka, 22-1. This guy could putt. I think he'd actually have a couple of tournament victories under his belt, and the flat stick's starting to trend in the right direction. But, with Craig Ranch here at this golf tournament, you got to be long off the tee. You got to be accurate. Accuracy helps, I should say. You don't have to, because you can still find your way. It's not a very penal golf course. So I like him there. I almost gave Pendy a shake here at 40-1. He's starting to play a little bit better. His solo PGA 2 victory is here. But at 40-1, I know it's not the greatest of fields, but I had to stay away from him there. And then I'm going to go with another 40-1 instead with Kashmir Keith Mitchell, 40-1. One of the best off the tee players on tour. I think he's ranked 10th in strokes tee to green off the tee. And I think he's the 6th or 7th longest player off the tee as well. So if you can hit it long and straight off the tee, you're going to have a lot of success here. And I almost thought, and maybe you're going to have him here. It's been a long time since he's appeared on my card. But Tom Kim at 61 is very intriguing for
It's
me.
funny you bring that up. It is the CJ Cup, and this is the big one for the Korean guys because CJ is this massive Korean sponsor. So I'll be honest. I mean, Siwoo has been certainly the best of the Koreans so far this year, and that's why he's at plus 1250. We have seen, glimpses of brilliance at times from Sung Jae-im. He's been relatively quiet for him. He's 50-1. And then, yes, Tom Kim. We have not seen mixing it up and really neat. Like the last thing we've really seen him do is hit a hole-in-one in TGL. And it's about time for him to do it. About time for him to do it on the PGA Tour. So a couple of those guys. One other guy at 40 that I don't mind. I just like his all-around game with what he's done so far, and that's Ryo Hisatune. In a field like this, I think this is a guy that can contend. So I'll have a little bit of him at 40-1. And then there's one long shot. And, I've been on this guy a couple times. We've been waiting for sort of a breakout. We saw him here 2 years ago in that showdown at the Manitoba Open at Southwood, and then dominated the Corn Ferry last year. And, I was reading in the Mayo, the cheat sheet email, that Johnny Kiefer dominated Corn Ferry Tour events on very similar courses to this last year. Now, it's going to take an off week from Scotty, but hey, he's just coming off a major. There could absolutely be a letdown. Kiefer, I haven't seen a better number anywhere than Coolbet on Kiefer. He's 100-1. I was seeing some 80s out there, but 100. So and this is about as long of a shot as I've made in a long time, but we're going to go 100-1 on Johnny Kiefer to get in there on that mix as well. Now, as far as putting together a little something for the Sunday Sweat Club, do we want to go Siwoo, Brooks, and then do we like Pendy maybe for a top 20 in this one?
I mean, he's, like I said, he's got to win here. He plays well here. His game matches it. He's just been hasn't been great this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. He has not had that moment of pop. Let me just see what these T20.
But if he's going to pop, this is the week he's going to do it.
Certainly could be.
You want Hisatune?
The difference from the two are not a lot. Hisatune's plus 125 and Pendy's plus 140. I think actually, if we're talking about top 20, Hisatune has probably been a lot more consistent this year. I mean, I think
100%.
that's probably a guy that we go with. So
I don't think Pendy's had a top 20 all year.
Oh no.
And I'm saying I think this is going to be where if he's going to pop this year, this is where he will pop. Like if he's on that leaderboard on Sunday, don't be surprised. But like also don't be surprised when he doesn't make the cut and we're talking about what's going on with this guy. But I think this is where he could really pop. Hisatune has been so consistent, like you said. He doesn't really have a weakness in his game. We got Siwoo, we got Brooks. I think I like Hisatune over the other two.
The Siwoo number is short too. Like it's minus 192. I mean, it's kind of him, Scheffler, and then everyone else. Scotty, by the way, minus 1250.
Insane. Do we want to go Siwoo top 10 and then the other two top 20? Get a little.
Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And the top 10 for Siwoo.
Plus 110.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. Siwoo top 10, and then Brooks and Hisatune top 20.
I like
fire that up in the Sunday Sweat Club, and we'll have that up in the combo cards. Hey, just
how about this though? Before we go, Tony Finau's 100-1.
Well, unfortunately, Tony Finau's been sort of Taylor Pendleton it for the last little while.
Yeah,
he's had a couple good rounds, but you know me, I'm the biggest Tony Finau guy.
I know.
And the fact that you brought it up, I'm now going to have to put like 5 or something on it just to make sure.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for his number for first round leader, and that's what I'm going to bet, because maybe he doesn't have the stuff to last all 4 rounds.
I love that.
Does this not look like a Tony Finau course?
Yeah. I mean, listen, let her rip, and if he can get it together in and around the greens and on them, He
80-1 first round leader.
He should be good. All right, let's lock that in.
Let's do it.
We want something for tomorrow. We're riding with Tony. 80-1 for the first round leader. Folks, a couple of things in the exclusives that we should just point out before we got to go do this horse race. First of all, the PMA Weekly Boost. And Pat has Michael Brennan. You've got a good write-up on this. I won't go into all the details, but this is a guy that, with this field and where he's been playing, pretty good number, and it's boosted all the way to plus 7,300 or 73-1. So you can jump on that. The other exclusives also include the Canada Soccer. If you're getting ready for the World Cup and you want to bet Canada win Group B, make sure to do it in the exclusives. It's boosted to plus 285. And Pat, for people that have not yet done it, time is of the essence to get over to the promotions and make sure you're in for the big contest, because one lucky Coolbet is going to be going to Vancouver and experiencing a sporting event of a lifetime, and that's Canada on home soil in the World Cup.
Yeah, trip of the lifetime, the Vancouver voyage, we are coining it. And yes, all you got to do, opt in, click that opt in button. You'll see Voyage 26, click it again. And then for every time you spend money at Coolbet, at the sportsbook, $25. So if you like to play the casino, not much of a sports bettor, $50 in the casino. That gets you a ticket into the raffle. You can track your progress on the leaderboard at the bottom. And yes, maybe you're not near the top of the page. All you need is that one raffle ticket.
Chip it a chair,
sure,
baby.
Your chances include go on and on. But like for your chance, 2 hospitality tickets to Canada versus Switzerland, which could be maybe the biggest match in like Canadian soccer history at that point, depending on the result that they need. 2 round trips to Vancouver, British Columbia, and 2-night hotel stay as well. So this is literally a bucket list, once in a lifetime opportunity for a sports fan.
Good stuff, everyone. So get on over to that. Check out the other great promos, and we'll keep you up to date on everything happening over at Coolbet. Patty, you, my friend, need a good sleep. Welcome back. Great work. Loved watching what you and the team did on the NLL, and we will do this again with you next week. Have a great one. Take care.
Thanks again, us.
Good stuff. There's the man at P. Greggy on X, and of course follow at Coolbet Canada for all of their great promos and specials. All right. One more thing we got to get to do, and we got our horse race and find out who's coming with us to ASD for that incredible prime rib buffet and a night of racing on June 3rd with the WST team. The Cowboy was our first winner last week. If you have not entered already, make sure to go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest, put in your information, and you can still be picked for our third race coming up a week from today for the final invite for them and a guest. But Remo, let's get to our picks for tonight from the track. And I actually had a pretty good night last night. Just looking back at the transactions, my 2 winners both came in and ended up in the black once again. It's been a nice little start to the season.
Yeah, you're doing much better than me. I think I had 1 winner. It wasn't the obvious one that I had said it was going to be. It was one you had the trifecta on that one, but it hasn't been a great start for me, Huss. So navigating the early season,
very early.
So that's kind of how it went for me last year, where you had the hot start out of the gate, I was slow, but then I came back. So I think I'm feeling a bit better as I'm getting a better feel for the track this year.
Here's what we have tonight. Again, the 6-race card. Post time is 7:30 p.m. I am starting it off in race number 2. I have $4 on number 3 to win. That is McKenna's Joy, number 3 in race number 2. I skipped race 3. In race number 4, I've got a $4 bet on number 2, Paco's Pico. Paco's Pico to win in race number 4. In race number 5, I've got 2 bets on this one. I'm putting $4 on number 1 to win. That's Dancing Raquel. And then I've got a $2 exacta on 1-2. So 1 to be first and Smoocheroo or Smoochero, number 2. We'll see how that one works. So 4 on number 1 to win and 2 on a 1-2 exacta. Not a box, just a straight one. And then the final bet, I had $6 left for the last race. That's going to be my triactor box race. $6 bet, $1 6 ways. And I am on 2, Mischievous Intent. 4, He Likes Winning. And I had to go off the board with the third one. I love this name too much. Prince Money.
Oh, that's a good one.
Prince Money is one of the great names for a horse ever. So a 2-4-6 triactor box is what I've got cooking. Where are you at?
Okay, so I'm on race 1, horse 2 to win. Shabam! I like that one there. That's a program selection AI smart pick. Race 2, I think we were different. I got 4-6 exacta box. Program selection in Vronsky Skyle. Call the Cavalry. And I've got race 5. That was my trifecta box. 1-4-5. Dancing Raquel. Spin the Breeze, and Crozati. And then I'm also on race 6 to win. Horse 3, Conspiracy Theorist to win.
Some great, like, race 6 has some of the best named horses.
He Likes Winning is the favorite.
Listen to these names for race 6. I'd like to bet them all. Number 1 is Main Dude.
Yeah, that is a good one too.
Good one. 2, great horse name, Mischievous Intent. Then you've got 3, Conspiracy Theorist. 4 is He Likes Winning. 5, Shankadopoulos.
Yes, Shankadopoulos.
6, Prince Money. And then 7, Aaron Spear. It almost seems like it's a name all-star race. They go to post tonight, 7:30. You can make an arrangement for future dates by making a reservation to get into the ASD dining room. But you got to make a reservation to get there to shout out that incredible prime rib buffet that we're going to be doing on June 3rd. And we're just getting going for a full season of live racing Tuesday and Wednesday every week, and with select Mondays as well. You can check out the full live racing season for the schedule at asdowns.com. All right, Remo, one order of business to do. It's not a marble race. It is a horse race. And everybody, this is race number 2 in our series. We had 10 contestants go at it in last Wednesday's race. Today, we've picked another 10 names from everyone that entered. Everyone is going to get a horse. And the first horse across the track finish line is going to get that invite for them and a guest to come and join the WST team and our other winners for a great night of hopefully some winners and guaranteed great food in the Assiniboia Downs dining room. You ready to go to the track?
We are ready to go. I've got all the names in at Horse Race Sim. We've got our list of 10 here, us, after going through the entries. All different names from the first race that Cowboy won last Wednesday.
Exactly, all new ones. So we've got Rob Barnsley, we've got Mary Jane, we've got Chelsea, Bardot, Donnie Boy, Michael Smith, Rich Hamel, Scott Westman, Daryl Julius, and Dustin V. Good luck to everyone. We will sim. It is a 3-lap race. Remo, start them off.
I got to get that horn that they play like before the big races here. I don't have it, but
we need to get a stretch or a Kurt going, and they're off.
I should just record like one of his calls of a race and like play it over. Anyways, I'm hitting start here.
Would be fun. All right, here we go. And they're off. Go. All right. Going around the first turn. Let's see. What colors do we have?
I see Chelsea's in there. Daryl, Dustin V, Bardo, Donnie Boy. Chelsea's separating
Chelsea's
here.
had a very, very nice start and is on the inside track. Second place, is that Barnsley or Westman?
Daryl Julius in second. Bardot coming around the outside with speed, though.
Oh, here comes Bridget. Bridget's trying to move into second place as everyone tries to track down Chelsea, who had that great start. We're 2 laps in. This is the final lap, right?
This is the final lap. Chelsea's with the lead. Bardot behind, and Daryl Julius hunting down Chelsea.
Bridget and Daryl Julius are right there. This one is getting tight. Can Chelsea hang on?
Oh, my God.
Look at Bardot. Bardot is really pushing it. This one is going to come right down to the wire.
Oh.
I think it's Chelsea.
Oh, man.
Oh, Bridget pushed her right to the end, but it was Chelsea, the winner. Congratulations, Chelsea. That was amazing. Oh, my God. That's the best race. I mean, we've only done 2 of them, but we did a few practice ones. That was definitely the closest one that we've done so far. So Chelsea will fire you an email and get your details and all that. But congratulations, Bardot, Daryl Julius, everybody else in the race. Thank you for participating, and make sure you're in for the next race. We'll randomly draw 10 more, and there is still one more chance to join us at Assiniboia Downs on June the 3rd. For what should be a really, really fun night. Fun show today, Remo. What an awesome chat with Bill McCreary.
Man, that was so cool. I got to post that separately. And we've had people ask for the book. It is available in store in Winnipeg at Chapters, all the Winnipeg locations. And you get or if you're an ebook guy, you could get that. But man, that guy's got stories for days. He's been a part of some of the biggest games in NHL history. Been, different eras, reffed the best players. Some really interesting insight on, what goes on, a little bit behind the scenes during an NHL game for, a position that maybe you don't think about a ton, but has a massive, massive impact on each game.
Gang, thanks for hanging out. We got to get this podcast up. Appreciate all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. YouTube gang, all you podcast listeners. Tomorrow we'll be talking Bombers with Bombing. Been a while since we've chatted with Darren. Looking forward to having him on the program. Marat will join us. Brian Munns as well. And a really cool Travel Manitoba segment that I'm looking forward to getting out there for you as well. So join us at 1 p.m. In the meantime, enjoy the Golden Knights in the Avalanche tonight, Spurs and Thunder. And, of course, don't forget Goldeyes, game number 2. Bit nicer tonight. And there'll be probably shorter lines for the food as well after that incredible crowd yesterday. First pitch at the ballpark, 6:30 p.m. Thanks again to Pat Gregoire, Brent Poplawski, the one and only Bill McCreary, Ken Boehlke from Sinbin.Vegas, and of course, Brandon Rewucki, and all of you for making us a part of your day. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Have a great Wednesday night, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.